Cersei Lannister emerges as one of the most significant villains in Game of Thrones due to her relentless pursuit of power and the often ruthless means by which she achieves her ambitions. Cersei is motivated by a deep-seated desire to maintain and expand her family's influence over Westeros. Her ambition drives her to take extreme measures to secure her position and that of her children, often disregarding moral and ethical considerations. While Cersei is fiercely loyal to her children, believing their protection and elevation justify her actions, her love is not unconditional. She is willing to act against family members, such as Tyrion, whom she perceives as a threat. Her drive to ensure the Lannister legacy, at any cost, often blinds her to the destruction she causes. One of her most defining and villainous acts is the orchestration of the explosion of the Great Sept using wildfire, eliminating key rivals, including the High Sparrow and Margaery Tyrell, in a mass murder that also inadvertently leads to the death of her last living child, King Tommen. Cersei frequently uses fear to achieve her ends, exemplified by her enforcement methods, employing brutal forces like Gregor Clegane, also known as the Mountain, to instill fear and maintain control. Her willingness to break alliances and conventions to secure power leads to several betrayals and manipulative actions. For instance, her betrayal of the alliance against the Night King by lying about sending Lannister forces to aid in the Great War. Joffrey Baratheon is the eldest son of Queen Cersei Lannister and King Robert Baratheon, though his true father is Jaime Lannister, making him a product of incest. He is pampered from a young age and lacks empathy, exhibiting a sadistic personality that thrives on inflicting pain and demonstrating power over others. Joffrey enjoys tormenting those around him, both physically and psychologically. His sadistic tendencies are evident in his treatment of characters like Sansa Stark and numerous others, displaying a deep-rooted cruelty unbecoming of a ruler. Upon becoming king, Joffrey exercises his authority in a ruthless and vindictive manner. He is impulsive, often making decisions based on malice rather than strategy, leading to instability in King's Landing. One of his most infamous acts is ordering the execution of Eddard Stark, despite assurances that Ned would be spared if he confessed to treason. This act defies his advisors' counsel and becomes a catalyst for the ongoing conflict between the Starks and the Lannisters. Joffrey subjects Sansa to regular humiliation and abuse throughout their engagement, relishing her misery and her family's downfall. He often seeks entertainment in the suffering of others, whether it's through arranging brutal spectacles or participating in them himself, such as during the beating of Roose and the cruel mistreatment of Tyrion. Although he is petulant and impulsive, Joffrey understands the power of fear and uses it to keep those around him in line, often threatening violence to maintain control over his court. Joffrey's death at the Purple Wedding, known as one of the series' most memorable events, demonstrates the fallout from his villainy. His reign leaves a legacy of chaos, betrayal, and strife that echoes throughout the series, affecting relationships within the Lannister family and contributing to the eventual wars and skirmishes that envelop the realm. Ramsay Bolton is the illegitimate son of Roose Bolton, initially known as Ramsay Snow. His insatiable desire for legitimacy and power drives many of his sadistic and extreme cruel actions. When legitimized as a Bolton, he becomes obsessed with proving himself to his father and establishing his dominance. He derives pleasure from inflicting pain and terrorizing his victims, showing a particular talent for psychological manipulation and physical torture. Ramsay captures Theon and subjects him to prolonged, grievous torture, transforming him into the Broken Reek. This campaign of terror showcases Ramsay's psychological manipulation skills and sheer brutality. He often releases his captives or victims only to hunt them for sport, using them as prey for entertainment. This act exemplifies his complete lack of empathy and thrill in domination. In a bid to secure his claim to the Bolton name and lands, he kills his father, Roose Bolton, shortly after Roose's wife gives birth to a legitimate heir. He also murders his stepmother and newborn half-brother, eliminating any rivals while demonstrating his viciousness. His actions directly oppose the Stark family's interests and survival, exemplified by his marriage to Sansa Stark, during which he subjects her to horrific abuse. His control over Winterfell represents a direct challenge to the Starks' legacy. Ramsay's presence elevates the stakes for the protagonists, particularly during the struggles for power in the north. His unpredictable nature and inclination towards violence create a palpable sense of threat, compelling other characters to rise against him, as seen in the Battle of the Bastards. His demise is one of the most anticipated and satisfying moments for viewers, marking a significant turning point in the series. Ramsay's reign of terror ends when Sansa Stark, symbolizing the return of the Starks' moral order and justice to the north, dispatches him. Petyr Baelish, also known as Littlefinger, is often working behind the scenes to orchestrate conflicts and advance his own ambitions. His role as a villain is defined by his sly, calculating nature and his ability to incite chaos for personal gain. Born into a minor noble family, Petyr Baelish rises to power through clever manipulation and strategic alliances. Although he starts with minimal influence, his ambition and intelligence allow him to gain significant control over key political dynamics in Westeros. Littlefinger is a master manipulator, skilled in using secrets, lies, and political maneuvering to set allies and rivals against each other. His adage, "Chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder," encapsulates his philosophy of exploiting disorder to climb the social and political hierarchy. One of Littlefinger's most villainous acts is betraying Eddard Stark, despite initially promising aid. His betrayal leads directly to Ned's capture and execution, which becomes a key inciting event for the War of the Five Kings. To further his control over the Vale, Littlefinger marries and then murders Lysa Arryn, pushing her to her death through the Moon Door. This act eliminates any threat to his influence and allows him to manipulate her son, Robin Arryn. He sets the stage for tension between the Starks and Lannisters through the dagger assassination attempt on Bran Stark, implicating Tyrion Lannister and sowing discord between the two houses. Baelish's tactic of constantly switching loyalties and playing multiple sides against each other exacerbates tensions and conflicts, maximizing chaos in a world already rife with treachery. Littlefinger's actions intertwine with nearly all major plot lines throughout the series. His manipulations contribute significantly to the destabilization of Westeros's political landscape, illustrating the series' central themes of power, betrayal, and ambition. He represents the dangers of unchecked ambition and the moral decay that accompanies it. His influence wanes when his scheming is exposed by Sansa Stark and Arya Stark, leading to his execution. Tywin Lannister is known for his strategic brilliance and ruthless approach to securing power for his family. As the head of House Lannister, Tywin is obsessed with the legacy and continued dominance of his family. His life's work is to restore and maintain the power and prestige of the Lannisters above all else. Renowned for his intellect and military acumen, Tywin is a master strategist, feared and respected by allies and enemies alike. His ability to shape the political landscape of Westeros often puts him at the heart of major conflicts. Tywin is willing to employ brutal tactics and make morally dubious decisions to achieve his goals. His lack of empathy, combined with his authoritarian leadership style, often crosses into villainous territory. Arguably Tywin's most infamous act, he orchestrates the Red Wedding to eliminate Robb Stark and his family as a threat to Lannister power. This massacre, carried out under the guise of diplomacy and hospitality, is a ruthless and strategic move to end the war swiftly. Tywin shows contempt for his son Tyrion, whom he blames for the death of his wife during childbirth. Despite Tyrion's loyalty and competence, Tywin frequently belittles and attempts to undermine him, notably putting him on trial for a crime he knows Tyrion did not commit. Marriage and alliances are used as tools to further his political ends, often disregarding the desires and well-being of those involved, including his own children, evidenced in his manipulative maneuvers with Cersei and her marriage prospects. Tywin's death at the hands of Tyrion signals a significant power shift within the Lannister family and Westeros as a whole. His absence creates a vacuum that destabilizes the political machinations he carefully curated, illustrating both the strength and fragility of his legacy. The Night King serves as the principal opponent, representing the ultimate existential threat to all living beings in Westeros. As the leader of the White Walkers, the Night King embodies the themes of death and the ancient battle between the living and the dead. The Night King was created by the Children of the Forest thousands of years ago as a weapon against the First Men. They used dragonglass to transform a human into the first White Walker. However, the Night King and his White Walkers turned into a formidable threat to all of humanity, seeking to bring about an endless winter and reign of death. The Night King possesses formidable abilities, including the power to raise the dead into whites who serve his army, immortality, resistance to conventional weapons, and dominion over cold and darkness. These powers make him an almost unstoppable force. Unlike most other villains in Game of Thrones, the Night King is not motivated by personal ambition or malice, but is instead an embodiment of an impersonal, destructive force. His goal is the annihilation of the living, making him fundamentally antagonistic to all life. The Night King continuously expands his army by raising the deceased as whites, including notable battles like Hardhome, where he significantly bolsters his forces. This creates fear and devastation across the north and beyond. In a major turning point, the Night King uses the resurrected dragon Viserion to breach the wall at East Watch by the sea, symbolically and literally breaking the barrier that separated the realm of the living from that of the dead. This act sets in motion the final chapters of the war against the Night King's army. The Night King's assault on Winterfell in the Long Night episode represents the culmination of his campaign against humanity. This battle pits the combined forces of Westeros against his army, underscoring the desperation and stakes of the fight for survival. The Night King stands as a representation of death and inevitability. His invasion serves as a catalyst that forces the often conflicting houses and individuals of Westeros to unite against a common enemy. Through this role, he emphasizes the themes of life, death, and the cyclical nature of history. Although the Night King's threat is ultimately neutralized by Arya Stark, his presence casts a long shadow over the proceedings, reminding viewers of the larger battle between life and death that transcends political and personal strife. His defeat marks a pivotal moment of triumph for the living and the power of unity against a common enemy. In summary, despite lacking personal motivations typical of other characters, the Night King is a villain due to his embodiment of death and destruction. As the ultimate opponent, he underscores the existential themes of Game of Thrones, providing a formidable and chilling adversary for the forces of life in the series. What is your opinion about the Night King? Gregor Clegane, known as the Mountain That Rides, or simply the Mountain, is one of the most notorious and physically imposing figures in Game of Thrones. His sheer brutality and monstrous actions mark him as a significant villain. Gregor is a giant of a man, known for his extraordinary size and strength, which he uses to instill fear and exert his will on others. He serves as a knight for House Lannister and is often employed as an enforcer for their interests due to his intimidating presence. Unlike more complex villains with nuanced motivations, Gregor's villainy is straightforward and defined by an utter lack of morality. He thrives on violence and is notorious for his cruelty, with a reputation for committing horrific acts without remorse. During Robert's Rebellion, Gregor brutally rapes and murders Elia Martell, the wife of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, and kills her 2 young children. This savage act solidifies his reputation as a war criminal and fuels the animosity between House Martell and the Lannisters. As part of the Lannister campaign during the War of the Five Kings, Gregor leads raids across the Riverlands, committing numerous atrocities including murder, rape, and pillage, highlighting his role as an instrument of terror. In Tyrion Lannister's trial by combat, Gregor faces Oberyn Martell. Despite Oberyn's skill, Gregor ultimately kills him in a gruesome and brutal fashion, crushing his skull with his bare hands, an act that shocks and horrifies onlookers. After being gravely injured by Oberyn, Gregor is resurrected by Qyburn through experimental procedures, becoming an undead enforcer for Cersei Lannister. In this form, he continues to serve as a hulking embodiment of her will, carrying out her orders with ruthless efficiency. Gregor Clegane's role adds a physical and visceral threat to the series, emphasizing the brutal reality of power and violence in Westeros. He is used effectively as a weapon by those, like the Lannisters, who wish to maintain control and instill fear. His presence as a mindless juggernaut reflects the darker, more violent side of human nature. The Mountain's legacy is one of sheer terror and inhumanity. His actions have far-reaching consequences, particularly in shaping the motivations and grudges of other characters, such as the ongoing enmity between House Martell and the Lannisters. His eventual death at the hands of his brother, Sandor Clegane, the Hound, provides a moment of resolution and poetic justice, reflecting the series' overarching themes of revenge and justice. Roose Bolton's methods to rise his power mark him as a villain, especially to the Stark family and their supporters. Roose Bolton is known for his calculated and unemotional approach to strategy and politics. Unlike many other characters driven by passion or vendetta, Roose is pragmatic, often choosing the path that benefits his house the most, regardless of the moral implication. As the head of House Bolton, Roose is deeply concerned with the elevation of his house's status, seeking greater power and influence in the north and across Westeros. His ambitions lead him to make alliances and decisions that are often devoid of loyalty or honor. Roose Bolton emerges as a villain primarily due to his betrayal of the Stark family, which he executes with chilling calmness and precision. He plays a pivotal role in orchestrating the Red Wedding, where he betrays his liege, Robb Stark, by aligning with the Lannisters and Freys. During the massacre, he personally delivers the fatal blow to Robb Stark, uttering the infamous words, "The Lannisters send their regards." His involvement in this event exemplifies his capacity for treachery and willingness to break sacred guest rights for personal gain. Following the Red Wedding, Roose is rewarded with the title of Warden of the North, a position he consolidates by quelling dissent and ruling with an iron hand. His rule over Winterfell in the north is marked by fear and oppression, further establishing his role as a villain. He legitimizes his sadistic bastard son, Ramsay Bolton, knowing full well the dangers Ramsay poses to others. His decision to make Ramsay his heir reflects his prioritization of power and legacy over morality, allowing Ramsay to commit numerous atrocities that further cement the Boltons' reputation for cruelty. His betrayal during the Red Wedding leads to the Stark family's near downfall and drastically shifts the balance of power in the North. As a character, he represents the cold and ruthless side of political maneuvering, valuing power and security over loyalty and honor. Roose Bolton's rule and subsequent murder at the hands of Ramsay set the stage for the conflicts that follow, particularly his son's eventual downfall at the Battle of the Bastards. His legacy is one of betrayal and brutality, leaving a mark on the North as it struggles to recover from his and Ramsay's rule. His actions contribute to the series' exploration of themes such as loyalty, power, and the cost of treachery. Thanks for tuning in to our deep dive into the villains of Game of Thrones. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on who the most menacing villain was in the series. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights and analyses on your favorite show. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.